Every Friday morning, I sit down to write on my own without the help of any AI. This draft of my podcast and newsletter. So this morning, I tiptoed to the edge and asked, hey, AI, I like to write on Fridays. I usually do so from this blank slate, but I want to give it a try here and see what you've been about. Maybe you can help me out. Maybe take a look at what I've been recently writing about. Show me what that's been, and then suggest something. And I used the latest and greatest from Claude, this Fable 5, and it gave me this perfectly cogent response, totally looked at what I did, and then I ignored it completely. So here I am writing about AI instead. Welcome to the Rhythms of Focus podcast for wandering minds who are tired of feeling that they have to force themselves to make things happen. Maybe know that when things line up well, that tendency to wander actually becomes a powerful wave of focus. I'm Dr. Kourosh Dini, fellow wandering mind. It wasn't that long ago that I struggled to make things happen, whether it was to remember when to pay a bill, do things over time, or look at a list without feeling repulsed. Fast forward through years of study and practice, I can now not only deal with the world, I can be creative, playful, and engage in the ways that make sense to me. I can be a doctor, musician, father, still play games in the evenings. I've created this podcast to share these ideas so you can do the same, hopefully with a lot less of the troubles I needed to go through to get here. Whether you have ADHD, deal with anxiety, or just suffer from a powerfully creative spirit, I invite you to join me in this weekly podcast to start finding your own way to a calmer, more intuitive space. Please note, I'm not functioning as your doctor, psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, therapist, or otherwise. This is here for education, if not entertainment, and I do hope you enjoy it. Today's a bit of a wander, but I think I land somewhere useful, so tag along if you will. Does AI help the wandering mind? My goodness, have I drunk the Kool-Aid with this thing? It's been a whirlwind. And my goodness, can there be controversy behind it? I heard this story about some school somewhere using AI to announce its graduates walking across the stage. It then mispronounced a bunch of names, forgot to mention others, and by the time it was all done, they couldn't go back and announce those that it had missed. Then I get these emails, much like you get emails, and can't you just smell the AI on them? What's that about? Why would I want to respond to a robot? I hear stories of the massive warehouses that are being built, draining water from an entire state perhaps. But hey, maybe it's providing jobs? Or is it taking jobs? Or is it changing jobs? Having frank discussions with my longtime graphic designer and friend, Matt, who was a guest in episode 64. Play around with Claude design and see what happens. I wonder about our civilization as it progresses here. Going through the industrial age, we polluted the heck out of things, didn't we? Beautiful Chicago River and its tributaries were just nasty. We could barely go near them. We'd choke in the smog, walk through horse crap. It was awful. But once we made it through that developmental stage, if you will, we've now come to some place where things are cleaner and kind of nice sometimes. Progressively think about the world we live in. Is it a truism that we go through messy stages to get to cleaner ones? How do we know if we're going through construction or maybe destruction? It's not always clear. Sometimes we think of the fight between money and the environment, those greedy people who have more money than various countries. The question isn't how we resolve this fight between money and environment. It's how do we align them? How do we make a clean environment profitable? How do we extend our vision beyond the myopic moment, beyond the quarterly report? But maybe that's not where I am. I'm one who likes to tinker. I like tools. Tagline for my website when I first built it in 2000 or so used to be Mind, Music, and Technology. So the Tinkerman tinkers. After wrapping up the last bits of the Waves of Focus, I had this idea to put together a beginner's series of the course for YouTube. And why not test the waters with AI? Let's see what it can do. It's already released by the time, or at least partially released by the time this podcast episode's going out, so do check that out. I don't even remember the first question I had asked of AI. It was maybe something like, hey, I'm building a YouTube series. Help me out, would you? A couple months later, I'm full steam ahead with not only that, but I've created several compendia of ideas from my DevonThink database. I've organized multiple next steps for marketing, extracted the nearly 360,000 words. Yes, I'm not so subtly bragging. From my course keynote to create a reserve of information from which to build the YouTube series and my next book and all that good stuff. How do I reconcile these? Clearly there's a benefit, but clearly there are also problems. I often like to say the more powerful the tool, the more caution it requires. And I wonder about AI and its impact on the mind. The trouble comes from the sense of, please think for me. When we ask an AI to write our emails for us without our editing or rewriting it to fit our voice, when we ask it to come up with a gift idea for someone rather than reflecting on what we know of that person ourselves, when we ask it to tell us what to do without reflecting on what's meaningful to us in the first place, we only grow more lost at sea. Thought is this cresting of emotion into mind, and as such, it's not static. It takes time to form, something we often find in scarcity. So we often come to this erroneous, unspoken assumption that thinking is hard. It's only hard in the sense of any hard work, that it's emotional work. We can pause, where we offer the seed, the soil, and the sun, and somehow our brains seem to do the rest. But of course, there may be other waves of motion at work, maybe in the difficulty to finish things. We fear the feelings of failure and how this rests on our inability to trust ourselves. The effort, if you will, is in allowing and sustaining a vision, where we pause and ask, what's on my mind about this? Allowing that question to linger and stir those unconscious waters, that's how we build the creative moment. Some part of us looks to reconnect, to grow. Whatever the distance, whatever the injuries it may represent, there's some posing of a threshold beyond which it's difficult for us to engage this moment. That vision that we have necessarily comes from within us. Our AI's vision comes from within it. The human tendency is to avoid difficult emotion, including those that would require forming a thought. These difficult things that are in our lives, marred by anger, irritation, shame, regret, pain of any and every sort. The bridge between is to recognize that the pain and the lost trust may be one and the same. Easier said than done. Where am I wandering off now? Let me return to this episode I'd recently done, Anchoring and the Option to Work, episode 57. We allow thoughts, emotions, sensations, and perceptions to come to mind. We pause to allow ourselves these thoughts. When they come to that place of being settled, where no new thoughts are coming to mind and there are only ripples and variation, then all the information about whatever can come to mind has come to mind. That's the strongest ground on which we can stand. And from that firmly anchored place, we can then decide on our next action, this next direction, with whatever vision we have, as clear as we can make it. When we do that, and then ask AI, hey, what do you think? Rather than it giving me garbage, it now gives me an approximation of where I am. I work with it and what I understand of it, and it can work with me and what it understands of me to develop a vision that I see as ringing true. We work together. It feels meaningful to me. But then I guess we're also talking about the art of relating to anything and anyone, aren't we? It's nice when we can engage symbiotically rather than parasitically. When we have a friend who hears and listens as we do the same. When we have a job that supports us and we feel we can support it. When we sit with the dishes and feel engaged because we directly feel how that moment connects and clears paths for those things that we feel meaningful in our lives. Those are good moments. So does AI help the wandering mind? I think it's the same question about any of our tools, really. Are we asking it to be us, to create our vision? Or is it there to help us realize the vision that can only come from within ourselves? depends on whether we've anchored, recognized where we are, where we'd like to be. From there, from that deep place of being, play, care, meaning, we can consider how to arrange for those places of symbiosis, for those gardens, if you will. Thought and AI, money and environment, self and world. Today's piece is an improvisation called Torn. It twiddles a bit between 2 or 3 main notes with some chords floating around. Improvisations are essentially the realization of some vision in the process of creating them. Well, I guess that's really any form of creativity, isn't it? Enjoy the piece. Small note before we close, I've started a new video series on YouTube called Finding Flow with ADHD. It walks through the waves approach of the waves of focus, the wandering mind, the anchor, the visit, and more. It's all brought to life on screen. And if that sounds useful to you, check out the link in the show notes.